Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Today, I'm very excited to bring back my special guests, Preston Dennett and Dolly Safran. Preston Dennett began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986 when he discovered that his family, friends, and coworkers were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. Since then, he has interviewed hundreds of witnesses and investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. He is a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network, also known as MUFON. He's a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher, and the author of over 30 books and more than 100 articles on UFOs and the paranormal. You can find more about Preston Dennett at www.prestondennett.weebly.com. Dolly Safran began her life journey as an intergenerational contactee. Her father, an airborne ranger in the U.S. Army, was also a contactee from an early age. Growing up was challenging for Dolly as she experienced episodes of disappearing from her home, psychic phenomena, and unseen friends. After gaining awareness at age 14, she realized that she was being taught by and working with ET. Dolly's decision to break her silence is now an imperative for her. Dolly is a fully conscious experiencer and the subject of one of Preston Dennett's latest books called Symmetry, a True UFO Adventure. All of the links are featured below in the description. Check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm happy to announce that you can now join my channel and take advantage of my perks. So without further ado, I bring on Dolly and Preston. Hi guys, how you doing today?
Hi Karen, we're great. I'm great anyway.
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, thanks. And let me just first compliment you on your intro little video segment there. It's beautiful. Love the music, love the images. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Actually, Andy Gambino, he's over in England. He actually made that for me. And I thought that was pretty sweet. And thank you. Thank you for the nice compliment. So I want to say hi to Heidi. Heidi, nice to see you today. And Namaste says, looking forward to today's episode. And Michael is sending us some love, and Thirsty is saying, Preston and Dolly, woohoo. So that's a lovely start. We got some people in the chat. So I have recently read your amazing book, Symmetry, a True UFO Adventure. And I got to tell you, I bawled my eyes out through half of this book. And the reason was it's not a sad book, but it resonated with me. And so many of your experiences, Dolly, I have had very similar. And it just was so confirming that there's somebody else out there who has had experiences, has had some extensive contact. Because honestly, I keep rationalizing and thinking that maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I imagine the whole thing, but then I go back and I look over it and I go, well, did you make this up, Karen? No. Did you make that up? No. You know what I mean? And then to find out other people. But I don't want to take away from this amazing book. I highly want to recommend it to all the viewers, the listeners. It's a fantastic book. It's an easy read. And it's very, very well written. I'm just wondering, to start us off, is there anything you guys want to say to introduce us to Symmetry and and this wonderful book.
I'll let Preston go first.
Well, Karen, I remember the very first time I met you when we did a show together. I was really struck by your story's similarity to Dolly's. And I remember mentioning to Dolly, and she's like, huh. And it took a while for you two to connect, but I'm so glad you did because, yeah, I immediately picked up on that, not only intuitively, but I mean, just the things you were talking about. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really blessed to have met Dolly. She did reach out to me on request or advice of the ETs, her ET contacts directly. So I have to give a shout out to Talata and her folks up there for connecting us because it was life changing for me, honestly. Having been a researcher for many decades, it's not often you get to talk to someone who's overcome fear surrounding this subject, who's moved past, the whole missing time and amnesia aspect of this, and who really has such a profound, complete understanding of ET contact.
Mm-hmm.
Few, but nobody like Dolly. We're still looking for other people who have, that level of contact. I think you're right up there, Karen. So it's a delight.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Dolly's story is very important for that only because she does have an enormous amount of information to share that really, for me, answered a lot of the questions I still had about contact. Like, are the craft themselves alive? What about the AI grays? Do they have emotions? I mean, there's a whole list of things that she provided clarity for me.
Mm-hmm. Dolly, do you want to add to that?
Just that I spent most of my life in training, and I knew from the very beginning that I was going to boldly come out. I wasn't ready until I was ready, and when I was met with a lot of confusion on this side of it because I had not paid attention or noticed everything in ufology here amongst everybody else here, and it took a little while for me to catch up and to understand what's really going on, and it helped me while I was researching into this to know exactly what I was looking for in that I needed help. I am not as gifted a writer as Preston or you, as a matter of fact, who I just started reading your book. Preston is reading it. And we are alike in a lot of ways, you and I. I've noticed that over the time that I've known you now, that you have a lot in common with me. And that's what I was looking for. I absolutely was craving camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
We birds of a feather, so to speak. And I had a hard time finding anybody who was going to write this story for me, telling from exactly me, not altering what I say, not changing my message at all. And when I couldn't find anybody, Talata actually sat me down and made me write his name down on craft and said, go look him up. And when I did, I went into shock because, it's like, you hear people say, ooh, there it is. Well, there he was. And I contacted him. He contacted me less than 24 hours later, and the road just started right there. That's the first day for me where I knew I was on the right path to divulge, to give disclosure and do it in the best way or in the best light that we could present. So that's basically what it's all about. Just trying to get the truth out there and give people a perspective that they haven't had yet because of all the confusion that's going on. I learned that right away. So
yeah, it's hard to know who to trust, and I've met people with experiences, but there are very few, like you say, that have had extensive contact and actually learned things and got specific messages that we're supposed to share with humankind. And but I just love the book so much. The way it's laid out is very logical. I love the way Preston preserved your personality in the book. I love that because you get all excited when you're talking about it, and it really comes through. So good for you for being so open and honest, and good for you, Preston, for keeping it so true to so that we get a sense of Dolly's personality um, and her excitement. And it is exciting, and I believe this is going to start happening a lot more often. And it's really important that people get grounded. And instead of just listening to all the fear mongering out there, and take seriously the warnings and the messages. It's so important. And I just want to quickly
Mhm.
show you a couple of comments that came in from the live chat. Becky Sloan says, I loved Symmetry. My only regret is I bought it on Audible, so did not get any of the fun drawings and such. Well, Becky, it's not too late. You can still order the paperback. And Carol Amerio said, I'm looking forward to Symmetry #2. So I just want to talk a little bit more about Symmetry 1 before we talk about Symmetry 2. So in Symmetry 1, you talk about, first of all, your history on what happened before you got your fully conscious memories. So this was going on for you, Dolly, from the time as far back as you can remember, but
Yes.
you lived a double life. While you were there, you didn't think about here, and while you were here, you didn't think about there, because you didn't have you sort of suspected, you knew something was up, but you didn't exactly have language or have a framework in your mind for it. Is that accurate? And then what happened when you were 14?
Yeah, well, when I was there, I did think about here, but I compartmentalized my life because I was instructed to be in the moment.
Mhm.
That's one of the first life lessons I ever learned, was just be where you're at right now. Don't worry about anything else. Don't think about anything else. Just learn what you're learning right now, or seeing, or being in joy, whatever. Right now is the
Mhm.
moment you're in. So I observed that. It's not that I needed to do it or was ordered to do it. I felt comfortable in just being in the moment. So when I was home, I was home. Now, when I was home, it was a little bit different because I couldn't talk about the other side of it. I learned very rapidly that to speak of it brought me instant ridicule. People would pick on me, revile me even, and say bad things about me. And as a human being, I shut down for that reason. When I'm with
Mhm.
tea, I don't have that problem. I can talk about anything I want to if it comes up in my mind. So that was the hard part about it. And so I learned to just console myself with the fact that, yep, I'm here now, and I'm just going to do what I'm doing now and find pleasure and joy and learn here too. I was restricted a lot because I was not allowed to pursue certain subjects, and ET was one of them. Anything about UFOs, anything on this side, our side here, they forbade me because they did not want me to um, be tainted by negativity or fear mongering about UFOs in any way, because I was not experiencing that. I knew the truth of it, and they didn't want my emotional response to that to play into what I was learning and understanding. So there was that barrier as well. So that was my dual life I had there and here. I was careful walking around here and doing what I was doing, and I was fully able to just explore, be myself, and whatever on the other side, which kind of, it's interesting because you learn to respect the differences in life and cultures and what people expect of you. You know, it's hard to be in a room with people that you don't know or understand, and you have to find that medium place where you can go, where you don't show them that you're an antagonist or anything like that, but work with them as well. You know, it was a good life lesson for me, having the duality of that two-sided coin that I was living on, and
Mhm.
that was it.
Yeah,
Mhm. No,
compartmentalizing is something a lot of contactees do. I mean, David
mhm.
Jacobs called his book Secret Life, because I think
Mhm.
that's how a lot of contactees do feel. And we're
Yeah.
so good at compartmentalizing the human mind. It
Mhm.
really is, I think, a psychological tool people even unconsciously use.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. So, and your father, he was away a lot working, but he was not against understanding what was going on for you, Dolly, but you couldn't share anything with your mom. I don't want to get too personal. Don't feel like you have to delve into that issue unless you want to. But I had a very similar thing where it was, don't you talk like that. People are going to think you're crazy. And they
Right.
were all worried about what the neighbors would think. And oh my God, you know.
My mother was a very competent mother hen. Okay. She was going to protect me at all costs. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
take that the right way when I was growing up at first. It took me a long time to realize that's what she was doing. She was literally protecting me from the world. And in her mind, if she taught me this way to handle it, I wouldn't slip. I wouldn't let those things come out and cause problems for all of us. She was just trying to have a normal life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard for somebody in her position to have that when you got a kid who's off the charts, and she's living in a community where she has to participate in not only the social isms of being the wife and the mother, but everything else that goes with it. And she was still trying to learn her stuff too. She was
Mm-hmm.
still trying to experience joy and create on her own as well. And I was a giant, giant roadblock to that at times. And so
Mm-hmm.
she handled it from that perspective. Um, it's uh, it's one of those moments when you grow up and you get humbled by the fact that I thought she was against me 100% and I didn't realize she was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
this is
Mm-hmm.
also not uncommon. It's very difficult for parents to deal with this for a number of reasons, because it's also a reminder that they themselves may have had these experiences. And if you're not ready to face it, this is, very difficult to hear your child talking about things that you yourself don't even want to face in your own
right,
experience.
right.
So there's that
Mm-hmm.
factor as well.
Mm-hmm. And Preston, what was it like for you to hear Dolly? Um, what was her process? I know at first she was kind of shy and afraid to
Mm.
really talk much about it, and then the floodgates opened up. And what was it like for you to hear all of this and digest it, and then get to the point where you could write about it?
Oh, it was an honor and a joy. It was a delight. It was really funny at times. It was, the whole range of emotion, honestly. But mostly I was just tickled to death to hear some of these stories, because I would, pick a topic, whatever it might be that I was researching. Like, I bet Dolly has experienced this.
Mhm.
Like, one time I was doing an article about people who, Betty Andreasen, a very well-known contactee, talked about seeing a man shrunk down. I brought that up to Dolly, not thinking, that she would have a firsthand account, but she did.
Mm-hmm.
And also people being given books, an actual ET book. I'm like, gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if Dolly's, yes, she had that experience as well. So this was the sort of thing, was like, this is so cool, because I am getting confirmation. And these are things she doesn't know about. So I've got this whole list of experiences that people have had. I know what to expect. And here she is telling it. So this is another way for me to confirm her story is 100% real, beyond having the fact that I've seen her craft myself, that she has corroborating witnesses, that she has photographic evidence, that there's medical evidence, healings. I mean, her story has an enormous amount of evidence. I'm so glad, because it is an extensive story. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how cool it was, because I'm like, okay. I always get so excited when I've got a really good case. I'm like, oh, this one's an interesting one. And this one was
Mm-hmm.
like peeling an onion, because yes, Dolly was very tight-lipped in the beginning, very wary, as contactees generally are. I've had to
Mm-hmm.
deal with this over and over again. People will withhold parts of their experience, especially if it's high strangeness. Like, no one's ever going to believe me if I tell them this or that, so they don't tell me. And
Mm-hmm.
after they get comfortable, like, okay, well, I've got a little bit more. I still deal with this. I mean, I just had a guy read my book, Humanoids in High Strangeness. He's in it. But there was another account where a person had an experience where he was rolled up in his blanket and basically left in his bed all wrapped up and tight. The other guy says, I didn't tell you that. I didn't, quite connect it. Wasn't sure if you'd believe. So this is the sort of thing that, as an investigator, I'm dealing with. But yeah, it was so much fun. It was really cool. And like I said, the best part was getting the information that I've been looking for so long. Like, yes, the craft are alive. And that is cool, because so many people have said, I think so, or, I sense this, or I had an idea of. But Dolly was able to lay it out in a continuous narrative, all of this.
Yes, she sure did. And the other thing that I find quite amazing is one time I was speaking to you online, to both of you, and I started to tell you about an experience when I was down on one of the planets, visiting as a guest at a ceremonial event, and how this animal, you guys, my book isn't published yet, hopefully soon, but anyway, there was an animal that has a defense mechanism where it's able to basically squirt out of its butt a jelly. And I was telling you guys about it, and Dolly says, "Oh yeah, I had that happen to me, except I went in the grass and tried to wipe it off, and then it really bothered my skin, or I don't know, something like that." And then another thing that happened is, while I was reading, I told you I was bawling my eyes out through half of your book. And the reason was because there's so much similarity. Like, for instance, you went to a place where everything was happening in these enormous tree houses way high up. That I also experienced. And there's so much similarity. And I thought, oh my God, I got to stop reading this book, because she's going to think I'm just plagiarizing her stuff for my book. And absolutely not. I had this stuff written. Like I said, I started 3.5 years ago. And my point is, there are such similarities, not just between you and my experience, Dolly, but other people too. And I can't explain that away either.
Right. I'll tell you something. I was 100% convinced of your validity the day you told me about that animal, because I've never talked to anybody about it. It's embarrassing for me.
Never told me.
No, never. This is an animal that I was warned not to get close to, but I'm an idiot. I love all animals, and I think all animals are going to love me back, because I can hear them thinking. This one had other ideas, and by the time I got up to it, it whirled around and let me have it. I mean, just let me have it. And it was a shock to me. And it's funny now, okay? Then it wasn't funny at all, okay? They were grabbing me and hauling me off to get this stuff off me. It was horrible. It was worse than a skunk. And when you talked about it, I went, oh my God, I know exactly what this animal is. I know exactly where you were. And oh my God, you can't make that stuff up. When you reach that moment of 100%, holy cow, yes. Woo, you knew. And it freaked me completely out, because I've never talked to another living soul about that. Nobody. And then boop, boop, out of your mouth, here it comes. And I'm thinking, well, okay. And I've been looking for my whole life, because I've literally been looking for like us, okay? Because I know we're out there. I know we are. There's lots of us, but not everybody talks, apparently. And
it takes a lot of courage to come forward with this stuff.
It does. It does. It really does. I mean, I got the call, to come out. My guides started encouraging me to go public in 2017, and I didn't know how. How am I going to do that? I had no confidence. If it wasn't for Preston, I never would have even written my book. But I wanted to say another thing is that I feel like we're meant to find each other in these times. I really do. It's almost like we're kind of a family. Right. And I'm really excited about it. And as I said before, I think that there's going to be many more of us coming out. So it's really important we're sharing this right now. So enough about me. Let's talk more about Symmetry. So for those of you who've joined us late, we're talking about Symmetry, a true UFO adventure, written by Preston Dennett, and it is the true real life historical event and continuing events that happen for Dolly Safran. So what else do you want to tell us about the book?
Oh, basically it's a plea to consider the reality that you're living in now and make comparisons what I'm saying, and to look around you, critically look around you and compare and contrast everything that's going on. It's a really good way to become a good researcher in your own understanding. That's what I'm asking people to do. It's real easy for me to tell what's happened to me. It's another one to help others to see the validity of it, or be able to ferret out the truth of it being yes or no to you. Okay. These are events that are personal to me, but they're also widely known to other experiencers who hear it like you and can go, yeah, okay, okay. And I need to think about this. There's other scientific information that I was hoping to bring out that people would consider that as well, because we're living in difficult times now, and I want everybody to be prepared. I want everybody to know the truth, what's going on around them, and not look in the wrong direction, look in the right direction. That's the basic, most important reason for this book to come out. I don't want accolades. I don't want anybody to think I'm special. We're all in this boat together. We're all the same, and we are facing the same thing. And how we react to that is imperative at this moment. So that's why.
I think when contactees come forward, it's not because they're looking for people to validate their story. They know it's true.
Yeah.
Dolly did not write this book to convince people of the validity of her experiences. That's not at all what it's about. It's up to each and every one of us to do our own research, to find our pathway to truth and knowledge. But I think it's very helpful. And a lot of contactees do get this very strong message to come forward. Because the fact is, a lot of people are having these experiences. They can be very hard to deal with. It's quite earth-shaking for a person. And in fact, I think even a single sighting, a simple sighting, can challenge a person mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychically. It works on multiple levels. And that escalates when you're having really extensive contact. And coming forward is definitely, I think, therapeutic for the individual. But it helps the world at large because, so many people are having these experiences, looking for a community, for recourse, for answers.
Right.
I mean, I get emails, not quite, pretty much daily. Who am I kidding? Daily, from people who are, trying to deal with this subject. And I think what I like about Dolly's story is she came forward because there's so much fear and confusion surrounding the subject. And I can only imagine the horror she felt when she saw, some of the blatant disinformation and fear mongering that's going on out there. Because there are, quote, contactees that aren't contactees, quote, researchers that aren't researchers. These guys are disinformation agents extraordinaire.
Yeah.
This is a very difficult field to move forward and to enter into.
Right. I think that we live in a time now where we have been taught worldwide to believe only those in governmental authority worldwide, that the only truth is with the governments and nothing else. And our government has taken that stance that only they know the answers and that the people know nothing. That's why they don't allow experiencers in front of Congress, because we would completely have a different rhetoric than they do about what's true and what's not. I think it's a very carnal term for it would be smoke and mirrors. Don't look over here. We don't want you to see what's really going on. Listen to us. And the reason we do is because you're going to fear, you're going to this and then that. They're going to tell you how you're going to feel. And a lot of people will buy into that rhetoric, because, they're the most authoritative there is. People with big sticks and guns are not necessarily a true authority. Okay, you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? And a lot of people are coming forward now with that information about why you really need to question this. And in my opinion, disclosure's already happened. It's worldwide. All of the people on the earth have seen UFOs. There are billions of people on this planet that have had contact. We're all walking around questioning ourselves because those in authority won't agree with us. I think we need to step back from that viewpoint and take more authority from ourselves. You have the authority. You already know. It's, if you've had this experience, don't question it. Don't believe it's nonsense and something else, And if more of us got together in disclosure together and telling them you're wrong, it might go better for us all. It might help us be more prepared for what we're facing and get closer to what the truth really is, other than running around scrambling with nobody knowing the truth at all, or not being able to get to the truth.
Yes.
I like Tati's comment there, because why are we turning to government for confirmation about something we already know when they're known liars? Why would we need lying liars to tell us what we know is true?
Right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one thing that does confuse people, and I know you can cast some light on this because there's a whole chapter devoted to it in the book, and that is, according to you, Dolly, people who are taken up into the spacecraft by ETs, they have previously given permission or agreed to it. And yet, some people, when they discover that they are then being taken aboard, freak out and even become hostile towards the ETs in response. And I thought you handled it beautifully in that chapter. Do you want to get into that a little bit? Because I know that's one thing that confuses people. We hear these horror stories from contactees, and it really is very different than my experience and your experience.
We have a physical mind, and our physical mind is not who we are. Our consciousness, our higher consciousness that we indwell this body is. And we don't always, we're not always in total communion or, connection to that. And our physical mind, with fear hitting it hard, will stop listening to consciousness, and you won't know the truth about something. And ET contacts your consciousness, your higher self, and has long conversations with you that way. But your physical mind is either privy to it or it's not. And we have a genetic tendency to go delusional when something is above or too stressful or abject fear hitting our head. ET realizes this happens to us. It is not unknown to them. They are quite aware of it. And when you're brought on board, what they do.
Dolly, your mic cut out. Sorry, I didn't want to miss what you're saying.
This happens to her sometimes.
Yeah, almost like forces don't want her to answer the question.
You might want to drop in and out, Dolly. We still can't hear you.
Wow, how frustrating for Dolly.
Yeah, this is unfortunate because this does keep happening. It could be. Oh, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
So when you're on board, ET will try to alleviate your fear. That's the number one goal on their part when you're on board. They will show you things. They will let you walk around free. In other words, they're not restricting you at all. It's like, you want to go here? Go here. You want to go there? Go there. You want to sit in the pilot seat? Come on, let's go. You don't want to go for a ride? You sitting in the seat? We will do it for you, no problem. They try really, really hard to show you that there's nothing to fear. I learned to associate this in a really weird way. Being a nurse, you get patients who are know what they're there for. They know what's going to happen to them. They're agreeing to get help, and yet they freak completely out in abject fear. And no, don't touch me. Don't do that. And the nurse has to, or the doctor has to calm you down and show you that this is not going to kill you, that we're here to help you. And they try to reason with your mind, your physical mind, and hopefully your heart picks up on it and understands that there's truth there, and you get to it. Now, some people will absolutely refuse, and they absolutely become delusional. It's almost like becoming catatonic, and they will just blot it all out. That's why you lose your memory when you come back from fear. Your hippocampus can't put that permanent memory into your head when you're already delusional about it and you're trying to shut it down. It's somewhat associative for different personality types in your head. Okay. You choose this. You also choose, you've already agreed to be on board. When they have somebody that's going, no, 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 they will stop. And if I've asked people, I've talked to you, did you have more than one experience that was negative? No, just that one. It was all it took. And I said, they like after that? Yes. Well, there's your answer. You made it clear to them, don't come around me anymore. And they won't. They'll leave you be because you can't reach past your own pre-programmed ideas of what this really is. And you see everything as negative and find no joy, no positivity, nothing, no questions, no curiosity, nothing. You just go, no. There are people who come on board who are ecstatic about being there and jump up and down practically. Oh yeah, show me this, show me that. I want to look out the window. I mean, they go crazy. It's like, and that's a joy to watch that happen. And they usually go home with their memories intact. And then there are those who are sort of like, all right, I'm here. And just lackadaisical about it, go through the motions with it. And it's a memory, but it's not, they put it into the dream mind, the dream memory. Okay. And they remember it as a dream. They're not quite 100% sure that it was real, but they kind of had the feeling that it is. And then when they reach a certain point in their life, they go, I really need to figure this out now. And they go crazy trying to figure it out. Anybody can figure this out. You have a higher consciousness that'll tell you the truth about anything. It can reach your physical mind and give you that information. It's up to you, though, to allow that to happen. And that's why ET wants everybody to wake up, because once you learn to use your abilities and that you could reconnect to your consciousness through your pineal gland, you'll get those answers. It'll come back to you. Your physical mind will be able to preview it and look at it. It's like reading a book about yourself. And you remember. I wish that more people would embrace the curiosity. Curiosity overrides fear every time. And it's interesting. I hope with what disclosure there is out there now that people are realizing that there really are ET, that they find more curiosity and start weighing everything in their minds about what this is. And it'll come to them eventually, because their consciousness is trying to talk about it.
I think fear is the single biggest obstacle to understanding contact and, frankly, the world itself, because fear is a big part of the human condition. People walk around in fear. We live our lives in fear of death, fear of strangers, people have agoraphobia, fear of going outside. You're going to be fine. But this is a real fear that people have of something that's not going to hurt you.
Right.
And it changes everything. If I could give anyone any advice who's having contact, would be do your best to overcome the fear of it, because it distorts your perception. I've talked to people who've had the same identical experience, being taken on board, physically examined. This is when panic sets in. People go absolutely out of their minds, and you can touch a person who's in fear, and they will scream in pain. And it's so important to overcome fear, because if you don't, what happens is you probably will have missing time, because this is when the ETs are like, this person is not dealing well. We don't want to cause fear. And you come back from the experience with just these sort of horrific memories of being on a table and fighting. When instead, if you had just relaxed, and please don't misunderstand me. I understand that this is a very difficult experience for people, because I've talked to so many people who's like, gosh, this was scary. Dolly experienced some fear in the initial stages of her contact. I mean, she dove under the bed at age 14, like, they're coming for me.
I was like, nope.
But at age 14, she faced it. Often what I see is people will have these repeated experiences that does describe me, and it's around age 20, 30, 40, and a massive experience will occur. And this is when they wake up, oh my gosh, I'm a contactee. And this is when they start to have fully conscious experiences, and they get to the good stuff, because it is happening. You are being given a tour of the craft. They'll take you up to the control room, sit you in the pilot seat, and let you fly the craft. They'll take you down to the engine room.
They'll even let you eat their food and drink their drink.
Yeah. All of these events are happening, but they're often shrouded in amnesia because a person's so darn scared. And so, if you can overcome fear, I promise you, it will you'll be treated differently. You will remember a lot more. It'll be a much more spiritual experience. I've seen this. This is a very prominent pattern. I've seen over and over and over and over again. If you can get past that fear, you're much better off, not only in the contact experience, but in life in general.
Right. If you ask ET when you're on board with them why, they will stop everything they're doing and explain to you everything you want to know. It's like a keyword to them. It's like they want to know why. Tell them. Okay. They'll give you pictures to look at. I'm not kidding you. It's like, okay, this person is that curious. All right, here's why. And they'll tell you. And that kind of information is priceless. You know, as little children, you notice that their kids that go around and go, what's that? What's that? Why? What? Okay. When did we learn to lose that? Who taught us that that wasn't appropriate behavior? Okay. And I've thought about this critically. People are put down for that as you get older. It's like they want you to be quiet, get in your place, you know, do it this way. Don't ask me why. I'm going to tell you this. And we need to stop teaching our children this. You need to let them ask you why until heck freezes over. Okay. Why is the most important word, because curiosity, like I said, if you shine a light in the darkness, why will show you why. And there is no fear in why. None. Once you understand something, critically understand it, then you go, okay, I'm good with that. Hey, that's not going to hurt me. I'm cool, you know? And people need to be bold in their curiosity, in their wishes to understand. Don't wait till you're 35 and can't really remember, and you're trying to, and then you've already got all this fear set in and it's holding you back from the truth. You know, jump in, both feet.
And do you find that sometimes people have something happens here on Earth and it's like a triggering event, and then it's like an explosion of memory all of a sudden,
Sure.
kind of knocks them off their kilter for a bit?
Yeah, it's a normal experience to do that. If you've had a really enjoyable experience and you love it, okay, but you forget about it for whatever reason, and then years later, all of a sudden you get the smell, the taste, the sound, whatever, and you go right back to that and you go, wow, I got a memory. That's normal human activity in your brain. And yes, we do that with ET memories as well. You will be ported back into that. That's how people with eidetic memories operate. It isn't that I actually remember the information. I have all five senses in key play here. Okay, I remember the sound of where I was, the smell of where I was, the taste, all of it. All my senses play into that, and my memory goes ding, 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 and I have a filing system, and it's all there. I can flip back to it anytime I want, just by recalling what my senses were telling me was going on. And so, yes, you can have that light bulb moment where it goes, and you go, oh, wow.
Smell works really well as a trigger for memory. But I will say that probably the single most common trigger mechanism I've heard from conductees is thanks to Whitley Strieber and the artist who did the cover of his book, because that cover woke up thousands, if not more, people to the fact that they themselves were having contact. I've interviewed people who fainted dead away, boom, to the ground. Others broke out into tears. I remember looking at it and going, oh my God, almost made me and I stared at it to the point where I got a little bit nauseous. I'm like, I'm wondering about this.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that alone. So this is why it's so important that contactees do come forward, because I don't know if the world would be, where it is today in terms of understanding this, because he was really the first person who was very high profile to come forward and say, I'm having this experience. A lot of people had come forward, but no one who was, quote, famous.
Right.
He wasn't even super famous. He was a well-known, very successful writer. But boy, that book actually broke publishing records. It was rejected by so many publishing companies too. Boy, they're kicking themselves now, just like Harry Potter was rejected by a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Imagine. But yeah, thanks to Whitley, that is a really good trigger mechanism. I've heard every kind of variation, from seeing a mannequin to seeing a short person, a little person, to seeing a plane in the sky shining a light down at you. One lady, she was watching Witch Mountain, that movie, and then the RV rises up into the sky. She instantly remembered her car floating up into a UFO. So these trigger mechanisms can really be anything.
It's funny you should mention that, because I'm talking 50 years ago, when I was about 18 years old, that was the first time they ever had on the mainstream news anything about ETs. And they showed a picture of what we would consider a stereotypical gray. And it was just a short piece. There was nothing else on the news about it after that for quite a while. But when I saw that image, I was shocked to my core, because I knew those beings. And yet I don't even to this day have memories. When you read my book, you'll understand I have lots of missing time. I have lots of clues, but I don't have, and I'm not going to say I have memories when I don't have memories. I just tell what I know and what I remember. So that shook me to my core. And I was living alone in a house that was down by the track. So there wasn't a lot of other people living nearby. And I was so scared to sleep at night. I was pretty freaked out for a while. But that was because I had no context for it. But I have a suspicion, as you will when you get into the manuscript, that there's lots of evidence. Just I don't have any clear memories. And it's weird what we do remember and what we don't. I can't really explain it.
I had missing time too, so I would love to remember. I'm really surprised I did because I don't consider myself a very fearful person. But I suspect that if I had remembered, it would have kind of derailed me a little bit. I
Maybe,
was
yeah.
very into researching and other people's and trying to get the word out. And I would have shifted to like what's going on with me. I don't know. I want to remember. I've pretty much remembered, but I certainly know what missing time is like.
Yeah, my experiences are contiguous, or constant. And I think it's because I was very psychic, very young, and I was never dissuaded from it. And I experience it from the higher self as much as I do from my physical mind. And that made it easier for me. But it also drives home the point of the message, ET's number one message, and that is to wake up. I don't live in a dream. I live in reality. I'm in total contact. And for a while there, I thought, God, I must be strange, weird, different. What the heck's going on with me? And then I realized, no, I'm not. Everybody should be able to do this as well. Everybody. And expecting that to see it happen is like one of the greatest hopes I have for humanity. Y'all, come on, join, get in the boat with us. It is so important. It's so important that the universe opens up to you. You will change. You will be a different person. Things that you thought mattered, you realize don't, and your continuation as an entity evolves at that point. That's important. And I want everybody to know that y'all got this. You can do it.
Now, I was wondering if we could, that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask next, and that is, what does ET want? What is their message to humanity? So I thought we've still got about 15 minutes left to the show. Let's talk about that.
Okay, Preston, you talk to more people than I do, and you have the spirit and the stats. You go first.
So now your mic is gone. Oh, you're muted. There we go.
Sorry, I muted it.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think there are multiple reasons ETs are here. They're people too. They've got a lot going on. But in a nutshell, I think ETs are very concerned about how we treat ourselves, each other, and this planet. I don't think it's any coincidence that they arrived in very large numbers, coinciding with the atomic age, because that is a primary message. I think ultimately their goals are pretty straightforward. And this is supported by an unbiased, objective, thorough look at the onboard experience. Because when a person is taken on board, first thing is they're usually examined. This is, if you look into it, a simple health checkup. They're preserving our genetics, no doubt. They're preserving genetics of all life forms on this planet in case there should be any kind of extinction event. But they're healing people. Healing is a big part of their agenda, and this is demonstrable. Another would be to educate people. This is why they take them down to the engine room. Like, this is how we do it. There are other forms of energy that you're not even looking into. Guidance is definitely part of it because they will talk to you about your life personally, personal messages about where you're going, and general messages about the world itself, because they will give what I call warnings, I guess, which is about the dangers of nuclear proliferation. That's a big one. But war and aggression, greed and corruption, destruction of the environment, pollution, this is a big part of their goal. Also, to simply announce their presence. That's one of the reasons that they put on displays over schoolyards and drive-in theaters and small towns usually, but sometimes big towns. Mexico City had a major sighting. Also to wake people up to their relationship to the ETs. The fact that we are them, they are us, we share a common heritage. This is a very common message. They're trying to get this across, that they're not that different from us and we're not that different from them. We are all one. And finally, I would say another major goal of them is to wake us up to our own humanhood, our abilities, to help us to embrace the fact that we can do healing, telepathy, telekinesis, mediumship, astral projection, human levitation, absolutely the ability to fly or walk through walls or turn invisible, all this stuff that you think is only yogis can do. Anyone can do it. They can do it. And this is why contactees are so blessed, because they're able to actually interact with people who have these abilities, and that helps to spark it in the person. So yeah, those are their goals in a nutshell. It's to teach, guide, awaken, inform, and warn.
And the message that I bring to you from ET is verbatim. It is this: we are you are us, and we are all one. And we stand before you as your progenitors, and we wait for you to contact us. We wait for you to ascend into being able to commune with us, to be with us. That is what we hope for. And for us to achieve that, we must awaken. That is their message.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I understand that you're now working on Symmetry number 2. Do you want to give us a little glimpse as to what we can expect, and how is that going for you guys?
I'm going to be delving more into not so much experiences that I've had, but the teachings that I've been given, and hierarchy of their societies, and walk into how they handle certain things. In other words, they have an elevated everything. In other words, they're more mature. They are more cognizant of morality. They have a very high morality quotient. They are not any longer in need of punitive anything. No cops, no judges, nobody. They have what you would call the wise ones, or the elders, those who have ascended in knowledge to the point that they give advice, they show you, they will work with you. Their society is very much a conglomeration of everybody helping everybody, and whatever you need is given, and everybody's responsible for that. And they want us to join with that. They want us to be part of that. And so I get into the nitty gritty of what that is. I will also go into more of their what they consider technology, and what they consider the beginning or the bottom line of what technology really is. And that means knowledge. It's okay to know the nuts and bolts of things in the third dimension. It's another to understand the technology of the higher dimensional realms and how they apply that technology. There's a gap. It's huge. It's millennia of a divide. We're just now starting to see things as they really are, or understand them. And it's not really being shared with everybody equally either. That's a problem for them as well. What one knows, all must know. And at the same time, we need to be developing our responsibility toward one another and what that means. And we're not doing that well. So I'm going to talk about that in the book.
Yeah, it's going to continue where Symmetry 1 left off. But I will say there are some great adventure stories that are going to be in Symmetry 2 as well. I mean, some very touching stories with how ETs deal with animals. Dolly's going to talk about her twin sister that she met. She is a twin. This is true of a lot of contactees. She's not really talked about this. Some very poignant stories, some really interesting information about, how she's had some really incredible adventures piloting these craft. Some USO information, because there's a lot of interest in USOs. So there's going to be a lot of information that we haven't touched on really at all. But I'm excited about the ET wisdom part, and just the science and some basic definitions of how ETs view the universe, us, in the world. So it's gonna be a different book, for sure, and I'm really excited about it, because it's gonna be a big one.
Sounds really interesting. You know, I thought that when I've had for working on my own book and finishing my manuscript, I thought once I got that done, that was going to be the end of it. But it seems like everything was on hold until I did what I was supposed to do and what I wanted to do. And now that I've got that out, I can't wait to get it published because now there's more too. And I'm going, what? What? I know there was going to be more.
It's
So
never ending.
I'm so happy that you're going to produce Symmetry 2. I just want to go back in the chat and ask a question from a reader here that I think is kind of relevant to what's on people's minds today. Michael Kennedy had a question. He said, what insights do the guests, meaning you guys, have for the current nuclear saber-rattling threats of an imminent, unstoppable global awakening moment to come, as publicly stated to happen before 2027? Do you have any thoughts on that or words of wisdom?
It is wise for the people to let their leaders know that use of force in the form of nuclear bombardments or nuclear energy of any kind is detrimental to human society all the way around the globe. And that we must stand for peace, that we must learn to come together, not be separate from one another. Separation is the worst idea there is. That we all have one thing in common. It's our humanness. It's our desire to be happy, healthy, and help our people thrive. And when we start walking away from that and we start banging our chests and threatening, we are using the easy way out. It's a harder, longer road to make peace, but we must do that, because to cause that kind of annihilation, and I use that word correctly, is abhorrent to us and everything else in the universe. We cause havoc all the way across the board. We're not only hurting ourselves, we're hurting others, because every dimension we live in is right on top of one another. And we need to understand that what we explode here and we damage here, we damage somewhere else as well. We transfers, and we have to stop thinking only of ourselves. We have to realize that we're all together. We are all one, and we must wake up to that. We must embrace that fact. Ego is the last thing that we need to use as a saber. I'm no better than anybody else, and nobody is any better than me. We are all autonomous beings, and we have a right to express ourselves, but we do not have at the same time the right to hurt others while that's being done. It is important that we realize that and grow up. It is a very mature thought to have, and we all need to stand up for it. By not standing up for it, we're allowing it to happen. And the time has come. We must all act against that. We all must, not by violence, but by our voices, but by our intentions. We need to stand up. If we need to hold a sit-in where nobody goes to work and nobody does anything for anybody else except for political things, we all should worldwide sit down and tell our leaders, no, you are not going to do this. We are going to solve our problems another way. That's what it takes. That means waking up to the truth of all of this. And I wish we had the guts to do it. I pray for it every day of my life, that humanity does understand that hurting one another is the last objective. It takes something away from you. You can destroy yourself doing that. Don't. It's horrific.
The acronym MAD, I think, sums it up. Mutually assured destruction. It's MAD. Don't do it.
Yeah, sheer madness. I agree. Now we're quickly running out of time, but I wanted a chance, Preston and Dolly, to tell folks where they can find you. And some people will be listening to this on audio. So even though the links are in the description below, you may want to actually verbalize your where people can find you for the listeners. And because I know people are going to want to get Symmetry. Read Symmetry 1 before Symmetry comes out, which is soon. So highly recommend it. Incredible, incredible adventure. True adventure of Dolly Safran.
All right. You want to start, Dolly?
I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I have pictures of Talat and videos of him up, so you can go there and look at Talat if you want to. We have a show that we do. It's called The Light Gate, and we talk to different experiencers or different people in different areas of this ufological themed adventure that we're all on. And so we have lots of adventures on the show. We have a backlog of shows that you can go back and watch before you catch up with us, or just catch up with us and backlog it, whatever. Okay, Preston, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm on pretty much most of the social media platforms. Pretty easy to find. Do have a YouTube channel. You can find me on the astral planes if you get into out-of-body experiences. I will meet you there. That has happened. Dolly and I have done it. I'm only half joking. I'm absolutely actually serious about it. Try it. You will love it. But yeah, my books are on Amazon, and I really appreciate you having us on the show. It's always a delight, Karen. You always bring a smile onto my face. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely my pleasure. And I appreciate you both so very, very much. And all the inspiration that you've given to me, and your time and your energy, your affection, I appreciate you ever so much. And I also want to thank the viewers and the listeners. We've had a lovely live chat today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I've really enjoyed your comments and your feedback. And for those that are watching on the replay, I appreciate all of you too. So I guess that's it for the show today. Thank you so much, Preston and Dolly. Love having you on the show. Hope to have you back. And I guess that's it for today. And we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you either Wednesday for the Quantum Guide Show, Monday for Preston and Dolly for the Late Gate, or next Sunday on Aliens and Angels. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.